Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Beyond the Frame Live. Well, it's starting to be an exciting time for us as we see centers reopen and get back kind of in the swing of things. It's also a scary time. There's new expectations from customers. You're challenged with getting your staff back in the center and getting them trained and we need to start making money again. So it's a challenging time. The last couple of weeks here at Beyond the Frame, we've had the privilege of hosting a few guests that have already opened their doors, and they've shared with us some of the best practices and some of the unexpected challenges that they faced, and a little bit about how business is going and offered us that message of hope. Today we have with us Steve Barinque. Steve had served 26 years as active duty in the Air Force, and upon retiring, he continued to serve the armed forces by working in the bowling industry. He's been with us for many, many years. Steve served 2 terms as IBPSIA Vice President and currently serves as Board of Directors for IBPSIA. He's also a Master Instructor for IBPSIA. Steve is also a USBC Silver Certified Coach. He's head coach for the United States Air Force bowling team. He is also a head coach for the University of Texas at San Antonio Bowling Club, and he's the head coach for Steele High School bowling team, where he led them to 2 back-to-back state championships. As well as Steve has been honored as five times as the Bowlers Journal Top 100 Coaches. So, Steve, welcome to Beyond the Frame.
Wow, I've never heard anybody say that about me. I'm embarrassed, but thank you very much.
Well, you are quite welcome. You know, this just shows our viewers that you are very dedicated to the bowling industry. It is your passion. I tell people all the time, gosh, once you get it in your blood, you just can't get it out of it. So you are definitely one of those people. So, Steve, you have had the opportunity. 2020 has been an extremely challenging year all the way around with the pandemic and most recently with the violence and stuff that we're seeing. It's just been a really tough year, and it'd be nice if we could just simply rewind it and start all over, but it's not. But we are starting to see that light at the end of the tunnel, and we're starting to see centers that are opening back up. And you happen to be one of those. Your military centers have opened up, at least the ones here in San Antonio have. So we want to talk to you a little bit about that journey. So when did you open?
Oh, we finally opened after 101 days on the 9th of June, and that was last week.
Awesome. And so let me ask you, what are the current restrictions there for you? Are you requiring your employees to wear masks, temperature checks? What exactly are you doing there?
That is correct. Internally, even before we open the doors, when they come in, they are taking temperatures. We are completely sanitizing and preparing the place for the customers. So that in mind, we open the doors and we go from there.
Wonderful, wonderful. So how did you prepare for your reopening? What are you doing that you weren't having to do before you closed down?
There's a lot, again, specifically the cleaning and the sanitizing. We need to make sure that all the touch points are taken care of. We need to make sure that the pit areas and the concourses are taken care of, and keeping in mind social distancing. We went every other lane per USBC recommendations, and we, in fact, I can't speak for a lot of centers, but we actually have your customer cards that we use from your resource
Oh,
center.
very nice.
We have somebody at our front door that are meeting people. There's a sign there. They let them know what's going to happen. For those that haven't experienced this kind of situation, we get their names on it. And I'm one of the few, I think, that is fortunate enough to have Q pads. So by the time the customers get down to the pit area, their names are already in the system. Their environment is already there, and there's only and we have our one of our counter staff take the shoes down to the pit area, so it minimizes the interaction between the customer and our front desk employee.
Oh, that's fantastic. Steve, I want to touch a little bit on, you had mentioned the customer card. For those of you that are watching that aren't familiar with what Steve's talking about, the Cubica AMF reopening marketing kit that is available at cubicaamf.com consumer resource page has the customer card in it. So just as Steve is using that for, you can capture that customer's information and assist them in getting all set up on the lanes. So Steve, really that is fantastic because you have now not only are you doing extra things within the center to sanitize and keep the environment nice and clean, but you've also enhanced the service that you're giving to your customers by making it really a full service experience. And what has the customer's reaction been to that?
I'm spoiling them. They didn't expect it, that we're spoiling them. But the goal in mind is to keep the customer happy, streamline what they have to do, as well as streamline what the employees have to do. So, it makes it easier for them to go down to the pit area and only and have everything ready. And then once they leave, that's exactly what they do. They pay by the hour and they leave. And when we go to clean and sanitize, it's our employees with gloves that go down there and pick up the shoes, bring them to the counter, re-sanitize them, sanitize the area to get ready to reissue that lane.
Well, and the other opportunity that it presents is when you do go down to the lane with the customer, it's a good opportunity, even observing your distancing, your social distancing, to be able to visit with that customer and really make them feel welcome. Even though you're wearing a mask, sometimes it doesn't quite feel as personal because you've got a mask on, but you can see through that. You can see the look in the employee's eyes, and when you have that conversation as you're walking down to the lanes with the customer, that leaves that customer with a really good feeling.
It does.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: did you have any unexpected challenges when you opened? You just weren't counting on that being a challenge?
Absolutely, and to be honest with you, it was really disappointing. Clearly, on our doors we say masks are mandatory when in the facility, but yet you have people that will walk in without the mask, and you can't miss the sign. You'll have people come in with the mask or take the mask off, and
Okay.
and we have to, and it's not a lot, but it's enough to make it, uncomfortable to say, look, you have two choices: you wear the mask or you leave the facility. And so that's really caught us off guard. We thought that everybody, especially here in San Antonio, with the numbers going up, understand that the masks are very important. Agree with it or disagree with it, it's mandatory, and you should be wearing them.
That's absolutely right. Um, yeah, and I think most of the customers, if they choose to not have the mask on, then that's you're protecting all of your customers, not just a select few, as well as your employees. And I think that's definitely understandable. So, and have you noticed that the habits of the customers have changed any? Or are they staying less time? Are they eating less? Do you see any change in their behaviors when they get there?
Well, being as if this is a league-based house, uh,
Hmm.
80% of our customers, fortunately, are league bowlers. They have been for years. They're the ones that have been chomping at the bit for the door to open. On the 9th of June, we had league bowlers at the door waiting to come in. And did their habits change? Absolutely not. They were happy to be in here. They got the cup of coffee they always get, or they got the hamburger combo they always got. Nothing really changed. So we were really, really happy about that. And some of the old bowlers that did come in, we noticed that really didn't change either. It was the new ones that we had to educate on what to expect at the center and what we can provide to them as a service, not only bowling, but in food and beverage.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned your league bowlers were some of the first ones to come. Were they coming just as an open play bowler, or did your leagues actually come back right away?
Unfortunately, our leagues voted to end before we opened. So that was a challenge to us. So they decided not to continue, but they wanted to continue to bowl. My concern was losing some league bowlers because of the league's ending. But those same league bowlers I was concerned about actually were standing at the door and have been back, to practice.
Okay. Okay. And what has some of the feedback been from those customers?
Great. It was just absolutely great to be back. It was great to be out of the house, and it was great to be back. And they interacted with the staff, and of course, we're like one big family here anyway. When it comes to the league bowlers, this is a place they can call home, and they were really happy to be back.
Yes, and Steve, you and I had uh, chatted just briefly before we logged in, and I know as a military dependent for 20 years, to be able to or to not have the bowling center in the picture for 2 months would have been devastating to me, because that's the go-to place for military families. So I can only imagine the response that the customers are having. So great response from the customers. So let me ask you this: what about your employees? How are they feeling about the changes and the new procedures that are taking place? Have you had any feedback from them?
You know, you've been in my center before, and you know how I take pride in my employees, and I can't say enough about them. We had a meeting, we had leadership in here. We had a meeting the day before we opened. We were engaged. We agreed to disagree, but at the end of the day, we all agreed on how we're going to take care of the customer, and what we were going to do. Um, Unfortunately, I have a staff that they all want to work, but there's not enough hours in the day now because of some of the
Yeah.
reduced hours to get them to work, but they're still here in the center. They're still here. They still want to work, and they still want to take care of the customer. So it's been unbelievable.
So you mentioned not enough hours, that you have changed your hours. So tell me a little bit about that. What are your hours now, and how did you modify them as a result of just now getting back open?
Yeah, I think I was a little too aggressive on my opening hours, and we brainstormed with leadership, and we agreed on we're closing on Monday. Never in the history of this bowling center have we been closed on Monday, but we're closed on Monday. We're only open 8 hours between 11:30 and 7 o'clock on Tuesday through Thursday, and 11:30 to 9 o'clock on Friday, Saturday, 1 to 7 on Sunday. So typically we were open 7 days a week, and the only day we didn't close before 10 o'clock was on a Sunday, and we closed at 8 o'clock.
Okay. And I know you've only been open for a very short period of time, and you may not really have a good feel, but as far as year over year, do you feel like, based on the occupancy that you can have now versus being at 100% last year, um, do you feel like your revenue is, is it way off? Uh, how do you feel about your revenue? Do you feel like that it's starting to climb just in the short period of time that you've been
I will
reopened?
tell you from opening last week to opening this week, I'm encouraged. Okay, um,
Okay.
with only 25% occupancy, and not be able to hold the leagues that we normally hold this time of the year, yeah, our revenue is drastically reduced. We are making money, but nothing compared to this time last year, pre-COVID-19. We had a couple of really good leagues in the summer. I'm still going to try to get a couple short season leagues in there, maybe a couple of tournaments in, but again, that's limited on capacity. 24 lane center with a 240 person capacity is only 60 people to include the employees. So it really doesn't give us that opportunity to get as many people in here as we want to, but we're going to work toward those challenges.
Sure. So you are going to try to floor some summer leagues.
Yes,
Uh,
I
yeah.
am.
Okay. Very good. And so what about special events? Have you had, I know it's just been a week now, but have you had any inquiries for special events since you've opened up?
No, we haven't had any inquiries. We were going to wait to see how it flowed with the league bowlers, because I anticipated a lot of league bowlers,
Mm-hmm.
before we started to see what we can do with special events to make up the difference. So we
Sure.
are going to start working on some special events probably next week, beginning of July. We do have some of those tuned out, but as of right now, we do not. We're just playing it by ear based on customers walking in between last week and this week.
Sure. Sure. And do you have any unique programs or anything that you're wanting to run right now, or that you're planning to run in the upcoming weeks?
Unique programs. We have some incentives for people to come in to if, every time if they bowl and if they come in to bowl every time every game they bowl there or every lane that they rent, they get a ticket for a drawing for a TV or a ticket for a drawing for some park tickets or something like that. We've done that before in the past, but even doing that like a SeaWorld or a Six Flags,
Mhm.
Splash Town. You can't even get those tickets because they're not even open yet. So and then the limitations for them to once they get them to use it is you know so we got some challenges, but we're going to be working on those challenges.
Wonderful. And are you doing reservations right now, or are they able to just come in and open play?
We do have reservations. Do we have a reservation system because we're full? No, we have a reservation system because we're anticipating being full, but to encourage and ensure that the lanes are available for families or parties that want to come in and bowl, and that way we make sure there's lanes available for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you also you dabble in everything in the bowling industry, and as we've discussed earlier, that you are a coach. That's a real passion of yours. And as a coach, what changes do you see in the way that you coach now as a result of the COVID pandemic?
Yeah, keeping social distancing in mind, the one-on-one interaction for coaching is not 6 feet. Where I have done some coaching, but it's been strictly video and it's been strictly, at least 6 feet apart and showing them the videos. With Coach's Eye, you can actually share the video with the athletes, with the students, and they can see it. But right now, I think it's going to change as far as getting up close and personal as with the athletes, with their permission, of course.
Hmm.
I think going down the road, that's gonna change.
Wonderful. Well, what one of the things that we always like to ask those that come on the show is, what advice would you give a center that is just getting ready to reopen? What words of wisdom do you have for them?
There's centers across country, and yes, I've been fortunate enough to be in all aspects of the bowling industry. But one thing that people do is they spin their wheel trying to reinvent the wheel. Okay, let some of the industry experts, and I'm not claiming to be an industry expert, but on behalf of BPAA, they have a resource center you can go to, and that has industry experts, within BPAA, how to effectively open a center. If that's not enough, IBPSIA. I'm on the board of directors of IBPSIA, as you mentioned, one time vice president, not twice. I just want to make, but that's fine. But IBPSIA has their own resource page for reopening centers, not just strictly for pro shops, but reopening centers. We talk about food and beverage. What we're going to do in food and beverage. Believe it or not, ServeSafe has a free resource for videos on how to do takeouts, on how to do food and beverage, and how to make sure your employees are taken care of, and that can flow over to regular employees that's not even in food and beverage. And last but not least, I can't speak enough about your resource page that you have. If you look at the monitors, why have them? If you're social distancing and you want to have on the monitor, this lane is out of play, why not put one of your monitor ads up that say social distancing, this lane is not in use for social distancing. And the other monitor ads that you might have, or that you have, that says, please wash your hands regularly. Please, sanitize regularly. Please
Sure.
social distancing. They're all over my center. And I didn't have to create those products. Marketing didn't have to create those products. And there's also other products on BPAA. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't reinvent the wheel. It's already been invented. Just take what's out there from BPAA, from IBPSIA, from USBC, from your own resources, from ServeSafe, and tailor it to your environment. Tailor it to how you run your business, and it makes things a heck of a lot easier than trying to figure out what you're going to do.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. And Steve, that is part of why Beyond the Frame was created is we want to pull everybody's knowledge together and help one another because we're always stronger as a team than we are as an individual. So we hope to be able to have others learn, from the resources that we've made available. So, Steve, we do have a number of other military centers that are watching. We have Fernando Brown watching. Hi, Eric. Hi, George. I want to know, Steve, do you have a message of hope that you can give not just your military counterpart managers, but also just to our viewers in general? What is your message of hope that you will leave with us today?
Be positive. Always be positive. It doesn't matter how bad it is. If you're positive and you think positive, positive things will come out. But if you take a situation and turn that into a negative situation, you're taking two steps back, and it's going to get that much harder for you to get forward again. But just stay positive, keep smiling to your customers, and they appreciate that. And that's one of my um, things that I do. For those who know me out there, I am a pretty positive person, and it does pay off.
Absolutely, it does. And you know what? Even though you have a mask on, keep smiling because a smile can be seen through your eyes as well as through your mouth. So I appreciate that really heartfelt message of hope. As we leave today, I want to remind our viewers, Steve, you mentioned all of the resources that are available, and it is, there are just so many wonderful resources. Um, the Cubica AMF has just recently changed our customer resource center to be more inclusive, easier to navigate. You can find links to all of the channels, the YouTube channel that has all of our recorded webinars with all the different panelists and topics of closing down and reopening your business. It's got the previously recorded Beyond the Frame live shows. That is also where you can find that reopening marketing kit, Steve, where you got your monitor ads and your other marketing material to be ready to go and reopen your center. So make sure that you take a few minutes and you go to cubicaamf.com and you click on the resource page. And it just opens up the doors for you to all kinds of resources, including the BPAA sources as well as, all the other resources that you have available. So next week, we are going to have a webinar, and the topic of our webinar for next week is refocusing on your business. The being closed and the pandemic and us reopening has really given us the opportunity to take a look at how we're doing business. And, now that we are reopening and many centers are doing reservations only, there's this opportunity to really fine tune and refocus on our business and learn how to do it going forward so that you can optimize your success. So make plans to join us next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern for that webinar. And until then, Steve, I want to tell you how much we appreciate you being here and the message that you brought to us today.
Thank you for inviting.
Is there anything else that you would like to share?
No, just keep your head up. It's gonna get better.
Well, wonderful. So, our closing message is, as Steve said, keep positive, uh, think beyond the frame, and just embrace your reopening and be fluid. If you reopen and you make some mistakes and you have to change, that's okay too, because you learn from those mistakes. So I am very convinced that we are going to reopen and bowling is going to come back stronger than ever. So until next week, where we see you on Beyond the Frame Live, have a great week and think beyond the frame.